it's not like you just put it out there and there all of a sudden there's so many people who want to use it. And so I think one of the biggest things is, how do you market that? How do you get more people on your app and understanding your story? And so I've been reading this book this week that's really good. It's called, I think it's called Selling Stories. It's by Matthew Dix. And he's just talking about how there's stories in our life, like every single day of our life. And we can turn those into, he's worked for like huge companies like Microsoft and Slack and like consulting, and helping them build the stories around their software. And so I think that's the last piece, is that people need to understand not just how to build it, but then how to market it and how to build an audience that really believes in the app and uses it.
What's cool about that book too, because I started reading as well, and I like the idea of that, is that like it's like not just being like, here's my product, look at
Hmm.
this crap,
Hmm.
blah. It's like actually getting them to engage in a story and see why they should use it, right? Like to tell a
Yes.
story that changed. Because like the other thing is like you're gonna build stuff that, guess what, it's already out there.
Yeah,
And yeah,
exactly.
yours might be different, but it's probably does the same thing because come on, dude, there's billions of people, there's plenty of room for multiple stuff in the marketplace, right? It's just,
Yeah.
and you can get that edge by marketing it better through
Yeah.
telling these stories rather than
Yeah.
just
Like,
like throwing out, social media pictures and stuff and whatnot, and basic ads.
yeah. In the beginning, he told this story about how he became a consultant for Slack at the time when Microsoft released, I think it was like Microsoft Teams.
It was
Uh,
Teams, yeah,
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 they,
that they
they
were just,
released it to everybody for free. And so it basically was more or less the same thing that Slack was. And Slack started freaking out. They were like, how are we going to compete with this, right? Like, how are we going to show that we're something different, especially since they're just offering it for free? And it was really cool how he used experiences in his own life to craft this story that helped people understand the value of Slack and the users of Slack. Basically, what he said is, there's three different types of users of Slack, and then he related that to cooking. Oddly enough, right? How people progress through like knowledge of, at first you can cook like one thing like really well, right? Maybe it's like mac and cheese, right? And then you start getting like cookbooks, right? And so then you learn how to cook more, right, using cookbooks. And then after that, you turn into sort of like a professional chef where you can just like open your fridge and see what ingredients there are and then just cook based on that. And so he
well, that,
related that to the users of Slack, and it touched people in a way that's like, related to their everyday life.
yeah, that was a good story, and that was like in the forward. And what I also liked about it too was like the emphasis on like, because he says right in the beginning of it too, like don't worry about what your friends and family think. Don't worry about like, get prepared to write bad stories first. And I think
Yeah.
we always have this misconception with everything, and we all did it with coding too, right? Where you expect to sit down and be the best
Yeah.
instantly, and it's like,
Yes.
why the hell would you be? You've never done this before. But if
Yes.
you keep doing it, right, it's going to get better. And I think the cooking example is really good for that, right? That it's like you're going to keep doing this and iterating over it, and eventually you'll get there. But it's
Yeah.
like the point is to keep trying because that's what's going to sell way more than anything else. Because nowadays, there's so much stuff competing for people's attention too.
Yeah.
And you need a way to like get in their brain and get them to see why they should do this.
Yeah, what I thought was really interesting too is like he has some pretty like crazy stories about like he was in a car accident, like flew through the window, like died on the side of the road, was resuscitated in the ambulance. And he's like, he made a profession out of telling these stories. And he's like, it's funny, at some point I realized I just needed more stories, right? And so he was saying that the he started basically tracking like stories that happened on a daily, like day-to-day basis, and he realized that when he was telling these everyday sort of stories, they hit harder than actually the other ones that were like these, flying out of a like huge car accident or something like
Yeah,
that.
intense, like once in a blue moon type
Yeah.
stories.
And
Yeah.
he's like, it's because people can relate to them more. They can relate to the day to day stuff and they can see themselves in those stories. And so, one of the like really amazing things that I've started doing that I got out of this book is, and this is his thing, it's called Homework for Life, right? And basically, the premise is every day, at the end of the day, or really any time in the day that you see fit, you write down anything that's story worthy. right? And it's not like you're not writing like a giant like, you know,
Full story. You're not
essay.
writing a
Yeah,
story.
you're
Yeah.
writing maybe like a couple sentences that just remind you of that story.